welcome to When Myers
Met Briggs.
I'm Meredith Howell,
And I'm Kayla White.
and we're coming at you from Phoenix, Arizona.
Where it's nice and kind of chilly, ? I don't know.
We hope you thought about everything we talked about last week.
Because here we are, ready to come at you with a question. How do you find your type?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of information for you today. These first couple episodes are definitely more exposition episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So either enjoy / hold on. It'll be okay soon.
Well, we just want to make sure everyone's coming at it with the same, shared language.
And ideally, this interests you. And so you're intrigued. You're engaged. You're like, give it to me.
Yeah. So to jump right into it, the number one answer to how do you find your type is to take the test, which is true. But we also have this really cool perspective, which is, Meredith, how do we put that?
I don't know what you're asking.
Fuck the test.
Oh, right. Fuck the test. I knew that. I did know that. We were going to say that. Fuck the test.
Fuck the test.
Why do you ask? Because people think that the test is an end all be all.
Yeah.
If the test deems me so, therefore I am.
That was good.
That is not what it's about.
Yeah. Well, and also, we're just going to get this one out of the way. A lot of people are like, well, I take the test, on multiple different platforms and I get different answers. And that is a mark of a flaw in scientific validity. And so therefore, fuck the test. And I say, yeah, fuck the test, but not for the same reasons.
Yeah.
Fuck the test because they are inconsistent and they're not scientifically valid. But that's not what we're here for. We're not here because we're scientists or researchers or psychologists. We're here because we want to do some self-reflecting.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, what are you going to do with data? Like, what are you going to specifically do with what percent extrovert you are? What percent obedient you are?
Yeah.
Like, how does that help you?
Yeah. So the number one way we say is to find a platform, which we'll get to in a bit, but you really have to go through them and use some self-reflection.
Platform? What platform are you talking about, Kayla?
Well,
There's a couple different theories of thought, schools of thought, you would say, all based in the original idea of Myers-Briggs, which was
Carl Jung,
and then
Myers and Briggs.
and then Myers and Briggs.
Yeah.
Whom you're listening to, obviously, because of the title of the podcast.
Yeah.
But then there's like different takes on it. So there's personality page,
Yeah.
which comes at it from a different way than socionics, where like even the letters mean different things, and like the combination of letters and what each letter stands for, like they don't necessarily cross over.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that can be a little bit confusing, but when it comes to ultimately, like if you're starting out, you want to find your type, or even if you've done a lot of different quizzes over your life, but you still, you're with us and you're like, I don't know if those are right. Pick one of the websites. And I know that the first one we started with literally only asked 4 questions. I think it just explained the dichotomies, right?
I took a 70 question one. I feel like on Human Metrics.
You probably did that.
Yeah. And I found that helpful, and I got an ESFP that time.
Yeah.
But I think it was just a very extreme ESFP.
That's true. That's probably true.
Yeah. Which is why it was easy for me to test. Well, and to be fair to us growing up, we have always been surrounded by a group of friends who have been open to talking about our strengths and weaknesses with each other. Like even, I remember like sitting in our dorms freshman year, like talking to granted, we were like being mean in a sense,
Yeah.
but in a more productive way than you would imagine normal girl drama.
Yeah.
It's like, I just really feel like you have a lot of repressed anger that you take out on blah, 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 blah. So I think maybe we were able to score the right time, the right type the first time because of how our self-awareness.
I agree. And I also think
We're so self-aware.
we're just like higher beings. We're just elevated. Hashtag blessed.
Yeah, we like function on higher levels of thinking.
Well, Meredith and I have joked a lot that we are like extreme versions of the types. I know personally over years, no matter what test I take, I always come back as like more than 80% extroverted. So it's pretty easy to test as an extrovert when you're disgustingly extroverted.
You are. Which I mean, and we'll eventually discuss, is it harder to be extremely extroverted or harder to be extremely introverted?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm just jumping the gun.
Reel it in, Meredith. Reel it in.
Call back.
So, I mean, I don't have I do have a favorite test actually. So if you do want to take the test before we walk you through it.
This is what I want to say about like taking the test and wanting to know the best one. There isn't one.
The best test or the best type?
Like the best test is what I'm saying. Like you just need to go out there and take a test and start reflecting on yourself and then click around. Like type in your letters and see what you read. And if what you're reading doesn't feel like you, then you probably scored. Like you probably just didn't pass.
Yeah.
That sounds stupid, but like maybe the questions weren't engaging you in the right way to reflect in the right way.
Yeah.
So take a different test. Take a couple tests. See what you get. Just read around. Like you have to go in this knowing that the first thing you do is not like it's not about taking the test and getting it right. It's about taking the test and discovering
and thinking about
and learning and discovering.
Totally. And I also think that it can be a little bit overwhelming. Like this, although 16 types can seem limiting, also when you're first starting, 16 types is a lot of types. And I think that it can really help to anchor onto one letter. Because a lot of times you at least know one of them that you are. So like if you just know that you're definitely introverted, at least you can start there and only look at those.
Yeah. And like I think we mentioned on the podcast last time was think about the groups. Like for the most part, most platforms acknowledge the groups.
They do.
The four groups,
Yeah.
which is analysts, sentinels or patriarchs, diplomats, and explorers.
Yes.
Which are also named different things on different platforms.
Yeah, but they're generally grouped into the same thing. So that's a good way to start out with that, is to talk about the four different families. So to start with my family, the analysts, those are NT, intuitive thinkers.
So all analysts, their middle letters are NT.
Yes, they make up 10% roughly of the population. Of course, that's give or take. You never know. And analysts in general are concerned with logic and objectivity, and they use it in patterns, themes, conceptual analysis. They're generally more interested in the abstract. So just think abstract and think logic.
Boring.
Hey, some of us like it.
Yeah, I like it. I'm dating an analyst. Been surrounded by analysts my whole life.
Yeah.
Friends-wise, I should say. Well, let's go into explorers.
All right.
We like to explore.
Yep.
We're adventurous. We're spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
We very much live in the real world. We're very
Yes.
practical, down-to-earth people. We're not in it for the fame, you know? We generally have great style.
Yes, that is a rule that is very easy to identify and explore.
And we're generally very sensual beings.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, generally about that physical touch lifestyle.
yeah. Like if it's the woo girls, you know? But we serve a great purpose.
Yeah.
We're the clowns.
It's not necessarily the woo girls, because the ISFP and the ISTP are not really woo people, but they are still regarded as very cool.
Yeah. Like that, I guess if you had to give the explorers one word, it would be cool.
No, that's honestly true. I'm not even going to fight that.
Yeah.
They're the coolest people. Fashion designers.
Improvisational theater nerds.
Oh, imagine that example. Where did that come from? Okay, so then
also the dirt bikers of the world.
Yeah.
So
that's completely true. Risk takers. So then we're going about it a little bit roundabout, but the next category I want to go to is the diplomats, also called the empaths. I am dating one of those.
Oh, before we move on,
What?
explorers all are SP.
Oh, yep.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
We all have S as how we download information, and we all have P for how we
Approach the world.
approach the world.
Yeah. Empaths or diplomats are NFs, so they're intuitive feelers. So, in contrast to intuitive thinkers, which are interested in abstract logic, empaths are interested in abstract feeling. So, they're interested in human connection. They generally are more warm. They're generally the warmest, I would say, of the types. They are concerned with harmony and with.
They want to make the world better.
Yes, that's completely right. And so in an argument, they're not the ones to heighten it and they're not the ones to shut it down. They're usually just trying to play the role of the peacemaker.
I guess. I feel like it depends. Like, I feel like a lot of ENFJs, like, they, like, fight. Like,
That's
they
a good
feel
point.
so much that they want other people to feel what they feel, and they don't understand why
Yes.
they can't.
That's okay.
It
So
really bothers them.
yeah, the overall trend is that they just have a lot of feelings.
Yeah. And honestly, like, they're just as stubborn as analysts, but, like, in feely ways.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is even harder to combat because you can generally convince an analyst of something if you can approach it logically.
Yes.
But with the NF, it's like,
It's about their instinct.
and like, it's so strong in them. Their feels
Yes.
are so strong.
Yeah.
Their decision, it's like idealists, like,
Yeah.
you will never win an argument with an idealist.
That's true. NFs.
And if you think you won, it's only because they want you to think that you won.
Because they're tricking you.
Yeah.
NFs are the, so like their title says, the diplomats of the world. The, I would kind of like, I don't want to say caregiver, but,
No, they're like,
well, they're the Leslie Nopes.
yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like, they want to step in the political positions for the right reason.
Yes, they want to be politicians because they want to act in the greater good of millions
Because
of people.
they truly feel like they can feel what other people feel and make the best decision for the best, most empathetic and warm and peaceful earth.
Yes, which is, as a side note, my brother is an empath. And he is a young man in his college years, and he wants to be in the Air Force, and it makes me sad. But I haven't told you that, Meredith. He came back. He wanted to be a fighter pilot. He came back to me recently and said he actually wants to go into rescue operations.
Fancy that.
I know. I'm really excited about it.
That's cute.
Yeah.
And then we have sentinels or patriarchs,
Yes.
SJs.
Mm-hmm. Observant judges. But don't. Well,
Okay, so 50% of America.
Yeah.
Okay, 45, but come on, half
Yeah.
of Americans are SJs.
Yes. They are the bedrock of society. They are literally the reason we function as a group of humans.
That's such a positive way to put it.
It is.
They're lawmakers.
They
They're
are.
rule followers.
Judges, like literally like gavel judge.
Yeah. They're big
officers.
They're sticklers.
They are. They
You wanted to throw a party at your house when you were in high school and your mom came home early. Like, you were grounded for years.
forever. You were over.
You make a mistake, you will be punished and disciplined so that you feel the shame so that you'll never do that again.
Yeah. I should clarify because I was reading about this the other day. Generally, they share a sense of duty,
Yeah.
which is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Sentinels want to maintain the things that they like, and they want them to exist forever. So they're generally very conservative. I don't necessarily mean Republican. They're just generally very conservative people. They want to see the things that work continue to work.
They're traditionalists.
Yes.
That is the way to phrase them. They are the holiday makers. They are the, I am parent, your child. They are the man will, win the money, and the
Yes.
women can too, but let's just make money, can we?
Yeah, they're generally the reason that we have the way society functions at all. And as a side note, I'll probably get into this in later episodes, but as an ENTP, I keep a lot of pet theories, and I'm working on one that in human evolution, the very first group were sentinels and explorers. Because sentinels
That makes sense.
would be the gatherers, explorers would be the hunters.
You got it. You got it, dude. That makes sense though, because as our brains develop, then you get more into the N.
Yeah, and then us intuitives popped up and we're like, hey, language, can we write it down? Oh. Exactly.
But yeah, SJs. So I'm just gonna go to bias corner
Is that what we're gonna call it? I like it.
just for a second. This is totally my 100% bias,
Mm-hmm.
but I grew up around a lot of SJs.
Yeah, you got 3 of them in the house?
Well, 2 in the house, and then just like most of my mom's like side of the family are all these
Oh,
like
yeah, they all
traditional
are.
Irish Catholic people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are a sentinel living amongst sentinels, life is great.
Oh, yeah.
You feel understood. Things are going the way you want them to. Everyone has a say in what everyone is doing and how they're living their life. They all have to have an opinion about how each other are living. That's fine, but they're all comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
When you are not an SJ living amongst SJs, and specifically SPs, you feel very misunderstood.
Yeah.
And I think that is, I mean, isn't that like the whole trope of America? Like, where do we fit in this world?
Totally. Like, we're just the artists.
Yeah, where do we go?
And the sentinels are like, fuck art.
You're like guns. So, okay, that's the end of bias corner. I don't even know if that was that bias, but
Well, also, I would like to, I don't know, I'm not clever enough. I can't come up with a counterpoint to bias corner, but bias in the middle of the room. I also was raised by an SJ.
true.
A lovely ISFJ, like I've said. And even though she is traditional and she does like things to, she's a homemaker for like 18 years. They're really good moms.
Well, yeah, nurturers.
Yeah. But so, I mean, they also, because, they played the role. They, for literally millions of years, they've played the role of the mom.
Mm-hmm.
So they know how to do it pretty well. Like, my mom has said she was born to be a mom. I was like, I don't really feel that.
I would have loved to have been raised by an ISFJ.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so those are the 4 types.
So if you're like struggling with some letters and you've taken the test and you're like, where am, like, I don't know who I am. Think about those 4 groups.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you feel like you fit in best? This could be kind of related to the color test.
It is. It's the exact same thing.
So gold are sentinels.
Yes.
Orange are explorers.
Yeah.
Green are analysts. Blue are diplomats. Or
yeah.
empaths.
Uh-huh.
So like ask yourself, like, am I spontaneous? Am I the adventure girl?
Or do I like working with data in order to make strategic decisions?
Yeah, or like, do you want to go to, a high school football game on a Friday night every day, every week of your life? You're a sentinel. I don't want to do that.
I don't know if that's a good.
Are you kidding? Why do you think football is a thing?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because it's tradition.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or
just sports in general.
just to get into some of like the nuanced things that we've heard recently. Sometimes we hear strangers talking in public and we can instantly know who they are.
It's well, I mean, think about it. Like 4 years of talking about who people are. It's like you say like at least a paragraph of word to me about something you have done recently, and I have a sense of what's going on.
And some people are more difficult to gauge than others. I have friends who I've known for 9 months who I then realized I was totally wrong. But so, for example, Meredith and I both recently have heard women talking in public a month or 2 in advance about how they are hosting Thanksgiving. And the details of hosting Thanksgiving, what it means to the family that they're hosting Thanksgiving.
While they're getting their nails done.
Yes.
Like, oh, so you're an ESFJ.
Yes.
You're the caregiver.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yes. Or, for example, somebody I know who is all about achievements and wants to be learning all the time, processing data all the time, and then using it to apply in the real world so that he may find success. Classic ENTJ.
Definitely. Or, listening to how someone's super upset because they, have broken up with the first love of their life and they can't imagine, they were going to marry that person. I'm like, oh, you're
Soulmates.
You're an idealist.
Yeah.
You're an INFP.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally every INFP I've met has wanted to marry the first person they've had sex with.
That's 100% true.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
Now, we could be wrong, But these are what we have noticed.
Yeah. Remember, disclaimer, we're just two girls having a good time.
We're morons.
Hey, we know some things. So if you're like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, just find some tests online, take them. My personal favorite is 16 personalities. But we do want to walk you through the 4 dichotomies on our own.
Oh, right. We do.
So there's the 4
Questions.
letters.
I like thinking about the 4 letters as 4 questions.
Okay.
Ask them to me.
Okay. How do you get your energy?
Do you get it from being around people, or do you get it from being alone?
There you go.
A lot of people want to say that extroversion and introversion are outgoing and shy.
They're not.
Do you hear us?
They're not.
If you like to spend time alone, it does not mean you're an introvert.
Yeah. And conversely, if you're shy, it doesn't mean you're an extrovert. I mean, an introvert. Sorry.
And
guys.
conversely,
We know some real fucking chatty introverts.
it's true. I do. Like, I'm like, okay, that's enough.
Shut your mouth.
So that's the way to think about it. What charges your battery?
So if, say you have a long day, not a catastrophic day, but
Just
say you have
long day.
a long day, you're like, I'm over this shit. And then you get to go, you leave, you're free. Do you want to meet up with any human? So it's not, do you want to go to a bar? It's, do you want to be around any human? Or would you prefer to be alone for a little while?
Like, do you just want to play Witcher?
Like,
3.
do you get in your car and you have an hour-long commute home and you're like, yes.
Or do you get in your car and you pull out your phone and you call somebody?
Exactly. One good, like if you think about the spree of alone time you can handle, that's a good one. Mine personally is like 6 hours, which is pathetic. And then
Mine's like a day. If I spend a whole day alone, the next day I'm like, where are my people at?
yeah. And I also should note too, even when we spend alone time, I sometimes will go on like a blackout texting spree. Whereas like introverts will straight up be like, I don't have a cell phone.
Yeah. So think about that question. Where do you get your energy? And some people say, well, I feel like I'm both. That's our favorite response.
I can't fucking stand hearing that.
You're not both.
We personally don't believe in ambiverts. That's a bullshit made up thing.
It's our personal belief.
Yeah, but you know what you can be? You can be a shy extrovert. I was when I was younger.
And you can also just not be in the mood. Like,
Yes.
these are your tendencies. This is what you will lean towards. And you could be a 20% extrovert.
Yeah, you could be like pretty close to the middle. Like I know an INTP who probably is like 5% introverted. Like he will talk a lot, but then he says he goes home, he just needs to be alone for a little while.
So, you're not both. You could be more towards the middle, and that could be hard to think about. But really think about it. At the end of the day, do you need at least a couple minutes on your own?
I don't. On to question number 2.
Ask me.
How do you process information from the world? Do you use your senses in an observant way? Or do you use abstract thinking in an intuitive way?
So, like, sensing fellas are very detail oriented.
Yes.
They appreciate concrete information.
Mm-hmm.
They enjoy details. They live very much in the present.
Mm-hmm.
They don't focus very much on the past or the future. They're very much in the real world,
Yes.
in real time, looking around, downloading what's going on.
And in conversation, you can oftentimes identify a sensing/observant type because they're talking to you about real things that you can see in space. So, like I said, what they're doing for Thanksgiving, the amount of turkey they're going to buy, or what their training regimen is at the gym, or literally how they spend their time during the day. Just very concrete things.
Yeah, like I'll turn to my analyst boyfriend and be like, today I had this kindergarten. Like, I just want to talk about, like, I don't know why, but it's just who I am.
Right.
Whereas he's like, why does Saturn have rings around it?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going through your mind?
Yes. Okay. So in contrast, intuitive types are generally concerned with the how and the why. So they say, yeah, that's happening in the real world, but like how? Or like, why is this happening? Or what does it mean? How does it relate to other things that have happened?
How does it all connect? Where are the
Yes.
patterns? How can I how can I understand this more?
Yes, exactly.
Very
And
abstract.
yes, very abstract. So their conversation will lean towards what does it mean? Can we talk about our opinions on this abstract concept? These people are generally more interested in anything that is abstraction. So, like political processes, um,
Music.
not necessarily.
I mean,
Music interpretation, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not talking about this is a guitar.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell?
Yes. And,
And then the next question.
yes, the next question.
First of all, back to that other question.
Okay.
We jumped the gun and now this is Meredith's segment called backtracking.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people have a hard time with the S in the end.
I agree. I think it's the hardest one.
That and decision making, but more so this one because everyone wants to think they're like a big ideas person.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Or I think a lot of people don't even realize how much they think about the future and the past or like think about how things connect. Like I think they're thinking about details.
Yeah.
So just know that. Really look inward.
Well, and as a sub question to that question, I know you were thinking about this, Meredith. You're a censor. Does that mean you're incapable of analyzing anything?
Well, absolutely. No, like someone said that to me the other day when I was just because I was going through this spiel because that's how I interact with people. And he was like, and I said, they're generally big picture. They like to see the big idea and, analysts are very intuitive. And he was like, well, you like to analyze people. Doesn't that make you an N then? Isn't everything you're saying invalid? I was like, nope, because I can have a skill set because I went to school. I have critical thinking and I have a brain and I'm not dumb. Like, what the hell?
Right.
But at the end of the day, when I'm lying in bed, I'm thinking about how I would decorate my room. So
these thoughts literally never cross my mind. So,
amen.
Yes. Okay. So, question number 3. How do you make decisions?
Everyone wants to say they're a T. They want to say they think.
True.
But the two options are thinking and feeling, and people don't want to say that they are feelers because they feels vulnerable.
Well, also because a lot of the times these letters are a little bit confusing. Thinking means that in a decision-making situation, you use logic and objectivity, and you don't really care that much about the human impact. Feeling means that you think about harmony. So you think about the human impact of the decision. So I can walk right into a fucking conflict and I will just shut it down. Whereas a feeler is really uncomfortable with conflict.
Yup.
Yeah.
Well, and because they don't want people's feelings to be hurt because they don't like when their feelings hurt. And thinkers don't either. And I think thinkers can be just as sensitive, like personally, but they're not sensitive to others.
Yes.
It's like feelers are both sensitive personally. And they feel what other people feel.
Yes.
And they take that into account when making decisions, which is not what businessmen do.
Yes. That's why you will generally, I would say, not, like if you're talking about chief executives, probably a lot of thinkers.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to be in a meeting and say no.
Like just flat out.
Yeah.
You just have to get shit done.
Yes. And it is easy to say thinkers are in general cold and feelers are in general warm. Obviously that's not always true because feelers are probably more inclined to also get real worked up and then they can be not so warm. And thinkers have thoth and we can be really warm sometimes if we want to be.
Nice disclaimer. And then the last question is,
how do you go about approaching the world?
this one's kind of tricky in that, when I hear that question, I'm like, what you saying, Willis?
Right. So it helps.
Talking about, Willis?
So the two options.
What was that, Willis?
I just
keep power through.
Okay. Perceivers, sometimes called prospectors, just want to be very flexible. They're very go with the flow. They're good at improvising. They don't, they might keep lists, but they probably don't really adhere to it. Those are the kind of people that work on deadline.
Right. And they have goals, but it doesn't drive everything they do.
It's a squiggly line to get to those goals.
Word.
And then judgers, this doesn't mean that they're judgmental people at all. They can be, but that's not what the word means. And judgers are more task-oriented.
Goal-oriented, very driven. They have a plan. They want the plan to go through.
They execute the plan.
Don't deviate from the plan.
Judgers are the kind of people that if you give them 2 weeks to complete an assignment, they will actually start on the day that the assignment is assigned.
And they tend to hold grudges. They do. When something is good in a judger's mind, it's good. And when something's bad in a judger's mind, it's bad. And it takes a lot to change that opinion.
Yes.
Or that. Well, because I thought you explained it really well the other day when you said perceivers, when they make decisions, it's ongoing. They're constantly taking in information and they're adjusting course based on what's coming through.
Well, because perceiving it modifies intuitive or sensing. And this gets a little bit in the weeds, but if you are a perceiver, your dominant function is how you process information from the world. Whereas if you're a judger, your dominant function is how you make decisions in the world.
Right. So judgers make decisions faster.
Yes.
And they make them with more force. Like judgers, they take in information. They assess what's true, whether it's based on logic and rationale or whether it's based on feeling and human connection. And once they've made their decision made, and they move forward with it, which is good in some regards in terms of making decisions for a business or getting stuff done. Can be tricky for relationships if they refuse to take in any new information that is coming in about a person or a relationship or whatever.
Yeah. And I would say, I think the largest benefit of being a P is that you get to be perceived as more chill. The largest benefit of being a J is that you get shit done.
The downside of being a P is you can be seen as unfocused and lackadaisical. And a J, you can be seen as a hard ass and
forceful
stickler.
Yeah,
or forced to be reckoned with. So those are the four dichotomies. And I think once you have a better understanding of those, you can figure out what you are. Hopefully, if you can't, go see someone, see a therapist.
You should be able to start with at least one thing. And if not, you can email us.
Absolutely. Our email address is whenmyersmetbriggs@gmail.com.
Yes.
I'm not going to spell it out because I feel like you should know.
Yeah.
But let me just say Myers is Myers.
Thank you.
And Briggs is Briggs.
Yes, perfect.
When Myers met Briggs at gmail.com.
Yes. And so I think that's about a wrap on this one. So looking forward to next week in the next episode, we are going to compare all of the different systems because there are so many websites out there and there are so many different systems that seem like the same system because they use the same letters, but they're not. So we're going to talk about, for example, socionics. We have a very, very interesting relationship with socionics.
Or truity, a new love.
And we'll give you some guidance on what those mean, why they matter, why we like them, why we don't like them, and our suggestions on them.
And that's When Myers Met Briggs.